But John grew up with a really cool dad who ran a factory, and he followed his dad onto the factory floor every day, just watched him kind of be a leader. And so what John really wants is to be a leader. And he leads that set. Don't be tired around John Merrill. Like, I remember I was in the makeup trailer just going, I can't do it. And John comes up and takes one look at me and goes, oh! One time, he saw me getting a little bored on the set, and he just dropped trout. Because that nudity. And I was just like, whoa! But he picked it up, and the energy in the room just went right up. He'll do anything it takes to get a good shot, to get it done right, to keep everybody safe.
I would like to know how you came to be involved in writing a comic. And did you enjoy it?
That is one of the most horrible experiences of my life. No, this is a good story, actually. I came down, this is a comic book that I wrote, by the way, with Christopher Gold, who I think I'm going to write another comic book with. I came down to Los Angeles having produced theater for like 7 years. And I was used to having power. I was used to calling the shots, deciding what was going to happen. And I got onto Buffy, and it was great money, but I found that I had no power. I was just standing on tape and saying lines. And I thought, well, I'll be a writer again. If I write a story, then I have a lot more control. Wrong. So I wrote this with Christopher, and it was the only script that Joss didn't want to rewrite. He was just like, that's a good story. But they drew it as if Drusilla and I were hideously ugly. And the thing is, I wrote them a twisted romance. Now, in a romance, the guys have to want to be the guy, and they have to want to sleep with the girl, and the girls have to want to be the girl and want to sleep with the guy. That's how romances work. And if you do that, you can twist it, and you can make it really freaky and weird. But if you draw them as hideously ugly, you're in a whole different realm. And so I think that comes off fairly well, but if they would have done exactly what I told them to do, it would be a lot better. So I had to go to Juliet Landa, who, by the way, is the bravest actor I've ever worked with, one of the most gracious human beings in the world, and a lovely woman. And I had to show her this comic book and explain why I was part of something that made her hideously ugly. And she forgave me, but I've never forgiven myself. And I called Dark Horse, and I was like, why did you do that? And we went back and forth for a while, and finally they admitted, you were the two characters that were popular enough for a comic book, but you don't have legal protection like the rest of the cast, so we can do whatever we want to. I was just like, oh yeah? Goodbye. They've been calling me ever since trying to write another comic book because that sold really well. I'm like, dude, die.
The story was great, the artwork made you go.
It's a little bit dark, but wait till you hear my Supergirl. I'm a very dark writer. Very dark.
Sadly, this is our last question, guys. Hi, I'm Denise.
Just kidding, you're beautiful, babe.
My name's Denise, and one question. There's lots of rumors about Torchwood and always being a very prank-heavy set, and a lot of pranks were played on each other. What was the biggest prank that got played on you? Did you ever get back for it? Any chance we'll get Gareth up on stage with you next week in a number? Singing? Please?
Gareth is a better singer than I am, so no. As far as pranks are concerned, I am known as the boring actor. Like, as soon as they say cut, I just go. Because I live for that word action. When they say action, it means everybody else shuts up. Fine. I go to work. So, as soon as cut happens, I'm like, fuck. Just wait for it, wait for action again so I can play. And so, I think that combined with my first day on the set, my reaction to John, that they don't play no pranks on me. Like, if I ever go back on the show, I hope they give me the respect of playing a prank on me. Yeah. Guys, you've been beautiful. You woke me up real well today.
Oh, we've got something. We've realised that we've actually cut you off a little early. Do you want some more, James? I kind of thought you might. Let's go with our next one, shall we?
Hey, beautiful.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing better than I can even tell you about. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and my brain said, Paul Simon, Graceland. Like, with perfect clarity. And I got my iPhone, and I downloaded the album, which is, by the way, a perfect album. Paul Simon, Graceland. He did it with Ladyfoot Black Mambazo from South Africa. And a really beautiful album. And so I was in the covers at 5:15 listening to this album, just shaking. It's so beautiful. I'm a weirdo.
Did you find the transition from Buffy to Angel hard? And because you couldn't touch anything the first few episodes?
What's the second part?
Because you couldn't touch anything the first few episodes?
Oh, yeah, that sucked. No, because the thing is, I'd already acted with David. I'd already acted with most of the cast members. And those that I hadn't shot television with, I'd already done Shakespeare at Joss's house. So they were all my friends already. All the writers were the same. A lot of the crew was the same. The directors were the same. So it was kind of like, where's Sarah? That was the only difference.
Thank you.
Right?
Hi, my name's Anna.
Hey, Anna.
I'm a major Torchwood fan, and I was wondering, for season 4 of Torchwood, would you be returning to the cast?
If asked. For free. Don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. But yeah, for Russell T. Davies, anything. He's a deeply subversive artist. He is very comfortable with pissing you off. And I love it. Yeah. You're welcome.
Good day, James.
Good day.
Yeah, yesterday you signed a picture for my sister, and I mentioned that she was going to freak about it, so yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Is she freaking out?
Well, she hasn't seen it yet, but
She will.
my question is, how did you get the role for Milton Final in Smallville? Brainiac.
I have to say, they just called me up and wanted me for it, which was a big mistake. Because I got a really good manager, and he's like, oh, they called you? Very good. And he gets on the phone, and like 2 hours later, he calls me back and he says, you just got more money than they've ever paid a guest star in the history of the network, dude.
You're great, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Hi, I'm Grace.
Hey, dude.
Hi, nice to meet you. Now, in Buffy and everything, you always speak with a British accent. I was wondering, was that really hard, and did you have to have elocution lessons and stuff?
No, the only thing I had was Tony. No, really, I'll do the accent, right? And Tony would come up and say, don't say it like that, you prat. I've got to go home. The people are making fun of me if you say it like that. For God's sake. Yeah, so he schooled me. Tony is a nice man, but he was very serious for a few years. Yeah, but that's my only tutor. Basically that and Monty Python.